He's more than an athlete. He's an artist.
I think you're in love, Ron.
Shut up.
Victor, I love you. Victor, I do.
When we're apart, my heart beats only.
Harry Potter!
Hey, my eyes aren't glistening with the ghost of my past.
I'm not an owl.
Technically, it's a fact.
Ah, c'est magnifique.
Kill the stag.
I'm on a Marty Crouch!
Behaving like a babbling, bumbling band of baboons.
Junior.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Retold, the podcast where I retell you my favorite story of all time, Harry Potter. Every single week, I recap the Harry Potter books chapter by chapter, going through, talking about my favorite lines, lore, behind-the-scenes stuff. We play some trivia, and it's a good old time. This week, we will be recapping chapter 37, the final chapter of the Goblet of Fire. Yay!
Yay.
But, that's right, but I never take this journey alone. I always have with me very special guests. And with me this week, I have my good buddy, Zach. Hi,
Hey.
Zach.
Hey everybody, how you doing? You cozy in your
great.
slippers?
They're doing great now that they're listening to you.
That's right.
For those who don't remember, Zach was on my coverage of in Prisoner of Azkaban. I remember we talked about we did the chapter with the Boggart, and I forget
Yes.
what the other chapter was. But
it was in Trelawney's
that's
classroom, I
right.
remember. I just
Mhm.
remember that.
yeah, but Zach is back. He's also a good friend of mine. He was best man at my wedding. I was best man at his. We love each other. Ooh.
That's right. Ooh.
But I'm glad to have you on this recording. You live so far away now. Zach and I
Yes.
grew up together, and we are now states apart from one another. But Zach, thank you for being back on the podcast. And you requested this chapter specifically. Now, my thought was, I wonder, is this chapter like his favorite and he loves it so much, or did he only want to do one chapter? And not
I
two?
said that's only one chapter. That really reduces the amount of time I have to spend with Barry. No, no, actually, I just kind of like the ending. I like the last chapter of all the books because it kind of wraps everything up and it sets the next book up a little bit, and there is some foreshadowing that I like in this chapter. So. And also the best for last, except for it's not the last of the season. You still have the bonus episodes.
That's right.
When you read fanfics and do trivia.
Look at
Good
you
episodes,
knowing
great
my
episodes.
schedule.
I watch a lot. I watch all of your episodes. Not a lot, all of them.
Aw.
That's right. Watch my
Mr.
my
Sweet.
episode a lot.
I've just played it over and over. I've watched so much of your podcast. It's just that one episode. For the longest time, you were like my only audible listener. On like not like listening people, but like the platform Audible.
Yes.
And I would just see on my little stream service that like tells me where I get the downloads from. I was like, there's my Zach on
Yeah, that's
Audible
right.
listening over there.
I am now fully on YouTube. I am a YouTube listener. I will comment on YouTube. Hey, if y'all
Yeah.
listening on YouTube, comment below. I will respond.
Okay.
I will.
Zach comments on a lot of the videos. You did bring up a really good point. So listeners, if you're curious about what the schedule looks like after this episode, we are going to do a best of book 4 episode. I will have on that episode Professor Julian from earlier in the season, as well as Stephanie's Pensieve. She was fantastic too. So 2 guests from very early in the season. So they'll be on for that. Then we'll have our Jeopardy episode. Best of those where we wrap up Quizzitch for the year, for the season, I mean. And then then our Jeopardy episode, I'll be competing. Jesse has made the Jeopardy board. And then after that, we're going to have a fanfic episode where Emily and I will recap a fanfic. And then we're going to take a little bit of a longer off season. I'm going to do some more topics, stuff about the show, stuff about other Harry Potter things in the world. One of the things that I wanted to do after I prepared your question for today, Zach, is I want to have an episode talking about all the wizarding schools. So, because that just, it seemed like such cool lore. But that leads us to today's question. So typically for my returning guests, I ask them, what class would they want to teach at Hogwarts? But Zach, nobody cares what class you want to teach at Hogwarts. What they do care about, though, is they want to know what wizarding school would you want to go to. And my previous guests, they answered that question only with the 3 schools in mind. Durmstrang, Beauxbaton, and Harry Potter. But we opened it up to cover kind of all 11, even though there's only like 8 listed. But with that in mind, Zach, what wizarding school would you want to teach at?
So before I get into that, I'm gonna call you out. You said, or the third school was Harry Potter. It's Hogwarts, buddy.
Oh, did I say Harry Potter?
You said Harry Potter, but that's not a bad answer because
Beep.
oh, cut that out. Anyway, so I kind of perused through the schools and I got to pick what I want to pick. Now, it looks like the key is you got to live kind of in general geographically close, and I do not live geographically close to this school, but now, people on YouTube, comment below. I'm definitely going to mispronounce this, so fix it for me. Uagadu. It's the one in Africa.
Wagadoo.
Wagadoo. That's right. I read it.
There's a U.
I don't know. There is. I'm
That's the
sorry. I
most
pronounced
Louisiana pronunciation you could get.
Oh yeah. So the reason why I want to go there is it's typically known as the largest school. So you're gonna have so much knowledge. They really push wandless magic. They consider the wand a tool, and it's not necessary like the rest of the schools. So I would love to be able to like flick my wrists and do jutsu hand signs and
Dude, you're just doing Naruto hand signs.
and get that fireball jutsu, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They also are strong in astronomy and alchemy, and who doesn't want to learn how to turn any metal into gold, or is it iron into gold? I can't remember exactly what it is that the Philosopher's Stone
King
does.
Midas is a cautionary tale for people like you, Zach. All right.
Yes, but yeah, that's fair. You know what? That's fair. I was gonna have a rebuttal, but I don't. And also, they really push all of their students to becoming anime guy. Like it's expected that you're gonna become an anime guy. So naturally, you're definitely gonna have some help. There's gonna be some step-by-step tutorials. There's gonna be people pushing to help those below them. They're not going to be expected to do it all by themselves. No one expects you to do it all by yourself. So, and that would be really cool because I want to turn into a bear. That's absolutely what I would turn into.
No, I know what you're gonna turn into. I need to look up the name of it.
You don't know the name of it, but you know what I'm going to turn into.
I don't know what the name of this thing is. I've looked it up. Hold on. Maybe I can share my screen.
What I'm learning is Barry has thought about what I would turn into and has forgotten. He's done research.
You would turn into this thing.
Let's see it.
The blobfish. The blobfish. That's what it's called.
Yo, where did you get my profile picture?
Oh my goodness. Okay, stop sharing screen.
Poor guy.
The
That would be
blobfish. You'd be the
very-
first like fish animagus I've ever heard of.
Yes, and that would be very helpful for the second task.
That's right.
But unfortunately,
Not much else.
Nothing else other than
But for that
picking
one,
up the
I'm good.
ladies.
It's like a triathlon. I heard of there's triathlons you can do as a team, and you only do one of the events. You would have the swim covered. So Wagadoo, that's where you want to go.
Wagadoo.
Wagadoo.
But I don't think. Oh, and the admission to Wagadoo, like finding out, it's not a letter.
yeah.
It's some like you get like a dream like visitor in your dreams. Did I say dream enough? But anyway, you learn but from like a dream, and somebody tells you that you're accepted to Wagadoo. So that's really cool.
And they place like a little rock in like a gemstone in your hand.
Yes,
As well.
that's
Like you
correct.
wake up with that
forgot about
gemstone.
I never woke up with the gemstone, unfortunately.
A shame.
It's because I'm American.
You don't get to go there.
I also put some inflection on American. So there's a reason.
No, I like that. That's a great pick. I'm glad you picked that because I was looking through the list and I was like, there's so many awesome ones. I'm not sure which one I'd want to go to. I think I need to give it more thought. And maybe in that episode where I talk about all of the different schools, I might give a for real answer. But I don't know, just on a cursory read of what each one offers. As far as just vibes, I liked Beaubaton after reading about it, because I was just like, just the elegance, and it brings in people from everywhere, healthy lifestyle being encouraged. Like, there's a whole bunch of information in that section about Beaubaton I had never heard before.
Too
So it's just
artsy for me. Put me in a mountain in Wagadu.
and then the other one, Mahodokoro in Japan, that one looks sick. Okay. The only downside of that one, because first of all, it's in a mountain. That's dope. Some of the magic they learn, really sick. And if you like all the details I'm giving, it's sick.
Yeah.
But
sick.
the thing that bothered me though was like, so as you progress along as a wizard, your robe changes colors at that school, signifying what you've learned. And when you graduate and become a boss, it turns gold.
Mhm.
But if you're a naughty boy,
That's right.
if you're a little stinker, your robe will turn white.
No unforgivable curses for you.
Yeah, and it's like shame all over you.
That's right. Shame upon your cow.
And so that would be a dead giveaway. And I'd be a little naughty sometimes, you know. But anyway, that wraps up that part of the episode. So without further ado, let's move on to our Quizzitch section. So listeners, if you're new here, this part of the episode, I have pridefully claimed that I know Harry Potter better than everybody else in the world, and I put this theory to the test, as any good scientist does, testing their hypothesis by conducting an experiment, which is I challenge my guests who represent the world to a trivia competition every single book. We call it a season, and I keep track of the scores. I ask them 2 questions, they ask me 2 questions, and by the end of the season, we see who knew more about that book. I won book 1, lost book 2, lost book 3, and it's coming down to the wire, as it always does, in book 4. And at the moment, I am down by half a point. Half a point separates me and the lead. And then so Zach and I will ask each other 2 questions here based on the chapter specifically, things just in the chapter. Yes. And then next week, it'll be finished when we do the best of episode. And we'll have lots of questions in that episode because I have 2 guests. But before we get there, the penultimate episode for Quizzitch, Zach, hit me with your first question.
I'm going to hit you with my first question. I'm going to hold the line, worlds. It's all on my shoulders except for the next episode.
You did last time. I remember.
I did. I crushed it, and I will not live up to the hype. So my first question is, what are the distinguishing markings on Rita Skeeter's animagus form?
She has the glasses marks on her antennae.
That is correct. And you nailed exactly where they were. I was hoping you would say the eyes. I'd be like, no, half a point. But nope, you got it. Full point to Barry.
Yay. Go me. I knew I could do it. Okay. So I told you before we started recording, I had a 50-50 for you and then a difficult for you. So I had a 50-50 for you last time. If you remember, it was the nostril question. Which nostril?
Yes.
Very
When
similarly,
I guessed right.
This is a Fred or George question. All right. In this chapter, Harry's he's forcing them to take his Triwizard tournament winnings.
Oh, boy.
And he shoves his winnings into the hands of one of the twins. Which twin does he shove his winnings into the hands of?
He shoves his money into Fred's hands. Lock it in.
Lock it in. Well, that is incorrect. He shoved his winning into George's hands. No!
Dang it. I was hoping my bravado and confidence would seal it.
I know, and that's not one of the questions I can be like, are you sure? It's it gives it away. But what's your next question, Zach?
My next question is it's kind of a 2-parter. It's 1 question. So there's 2 answers you must submit, and you get half a point for each of them. So who uses the Furnunculus curse, and who uses the jelly legs on the Huggy Express?
The Hoggy Express. Well,
Express.
to answer your question, George uses the Jelly Legs curse, and Harry uses the Furnunculus curse.
Are you sure?
I am absolutely sure.
And you got them. You nailed them both. That's 1.0 points.
Woo! Fantastic. All right. Now here you go, Zach. Your question. Let's see. That's I didn't even have my questions pulled up. I'm on my transfiguration section at the end of the chapter. I'm just going
So
off
what's
memory.
the difference between the books and the movies?
That's not allowed. Okay. Your question, Zach. As long as I've known you, you've been a numbers guy.
Oh boy. I
been
can't
a
I have
numbers
a
guy.
bad memory though.
You used to do math tournaments
That's right.
for fun in
yes,
high
and
school.
I was bad at them.
No. You were
was-
great at them. So
I
your
made it to
question, you could do this based on what is said in this chapter, or you can like deduce it based on other factors. How many months did Moody spend in the trunk?
Oh my gosh.
Harry says it specifically in this chapter.
9 months.
I'm going to give you another guess for half a point.
I'm probably like right there. All right. Was it 10 months?
That is correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Point. All right,
Let's
world.
go.
Next episode, it's all on you guys.
You're like, I did my part. I did my part.
I do have a
didn't-
third question though.
Let's hear it. Let's do a third question. Why not?
All right. Which human was having trouble getting his gambling earnings from Mr. Bagman? Which human? Not the goblins. Which human?
Not counting the twins.
Not counting the twins. Yes, besides the twins. I forgot to write that part down.
Yeah. Lee Jordan's father.
That is correct.
Woo!
3 for
All
3,
right.
Barry.
Yeah.
I'm not doing good.
No, that's okay. Listen, you can still make up more ground because I can ask you another question. I don't want to do a very difficult one. Let me go out of my phone.
Why? Because mine have been easy.
Okay. Here's your final question, Zach. What game did they play with Fred and George on the ride back in the Hogwarts Express?
Exploding snap.
That is correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Give me that point. Oh, yeah. Snag it to a Slim Jim. Not a sponsor.
Oh, my goodness. Well, congratulations, Zach. You got it right. So when you said you had a two-parter, I thought you were going to ask me, because this is something like Jesse would ask me, is
I'm not Jesse.
give like the exact placement of the cups in Hagrid's hut, like the two cups that were laid out. I even made note to be like, this could be a potential question. It was like on the saucers, on the wooden table in front of the fireplace. I was like, I had that down. I knew that. I was like, that could be one.
I would not do that.
All right, let's see. Let's do just for funsies, because again, we're only doing one chapter this episode. Your question is, what day of the week did they go see Hagrid?
Oh, man, I'm glad this one's just for funsies. I think it was a Tuesday.
You're very close with the letter.
Thursday?
Thursday. Wow, how did you figure that out?
I used my fingers and toes to figure that one out. I had to do some quick math.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So that wraps up our Quizzitch section, kind of. So just to recap, I got 3 right. I went 3 for 3. Zach got 1.5 right, which changes the score entirely. I have now pulled ahead by 1 point going into the final.
I'm sorry, world. I apologize.
You know what? I'm sure they'll forgive you.
And I told Barry that I would throw for him so that he would get.
No, that's not what he said. He said, no, that's not what he said. Okay. All right. I told him not to.
No, that was really actually my best, guys. So I'm sorry.
Well, this is the one book that I absolutely want to win more than any others because it's like my favorite book. So it's like, I need this. Anyway, before we move on to our chapter coverage, world, we need to answer your question from last week and ask you your question for this week. So last week, your question was, why did Bertha Jorkins go to the Crouch establishment? Why did she go to the Crouch's house to begin with whenever she discovered all of their shenanigans? And the answer to that question was she needed to get Barty Crouch Sr. to sign some papers for her, probably official ministry business stuff. If you got that right, congratulations. If you got it wrong, better luck next time. Next time being right now. In this chapter, there were two instances where Hagrid and Madame Maxime are seen together. In the first instance, it's in a great hall. What is the second instance? He is helping her do something. What is he helping her do? That's your question for this week. To answer that question, write into theretoldpodcast@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram at theretoldpodcast, or just comment down below if you're on YouTube what you think the answer is to the Quizzitch question. So without further ado, it's time to cover a chapter. So weird. I usually say chapters, but now it's just chapter. Just one. So this week, we're only doing chapter 37. And the way this works, listeners, if you're new here, is I will recap, hopefully in a fun and entertaining way, what happens in chapter 37. And along the way, Zach is free to chime in as he sees fit. He can interrupt me if he wants, or he can let me ramble for as long as he wants. Okay. If he interrupts me, he's not being rude. He's doing what I asked him. And then at the end of the chapter, we will talk about our favorite lines from the chapter. We'll talk about our transfigurations, which are changes that the movies made from the books. And we also talk about golden snitches, which are little lore grabs behind the scenes, tids and bits, stuff like that, stuff that the casual fan might not have noticed. And then we'll wrap it all up with our restricted section. Normally we have a second chapter where we do it all again, but this time it's just the one. So then we hop into the restricted section. So you won't be spoiled for the rest of the series if you don't want that. But Zach, are you ready to cover chapter 37?
No, can we try tomorrow?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
See you next week.
Oh,
all right, let's go.
Yeah, I need a break now. I got to drink my water.
Oh.
Chapter 37, the beginning. Do you see the cleverness in that, Zach?
Yeah,
It's the last chapter, but it's called the beginning. Oh, wow. Genius,
I read
right?
this chapter first and it ruined me.
I know. I was just following the directions.
Dang it, J.K.
Spoilers
Rowling.
everywhere. The chapter opens with the narrator saying that things had been rough for Harry. Just talking about everything's a bummer. He's sad boying, very understandably. He has a conversation the next morning with the Diggories. It's a really sad conversation. Like, I listened to the new audiobook, the dramatized version with all the voices, and you just hear Mr. Diggory sobbing in the background. Have you heard any of those yet, Zach? The new ones?
I have not. I've heard some dramatized versions of books, but I have not done Harry Potter yet.
It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. Love it. But yeah, so he's just crying in the background, and the mom is talking. They thank him for bringing back Cedric's body. And they take solace in the fact that, he won. I think they're really just grasping for straws, trying to find anything to comfort them. Like the mom is trying to comfort the dad, because for all of Mr. Diggory's flaws, he truly loved his son. Like he
really
loved him so much. And even though he's kind of a jerk to Harry, a little bit prideful and egotistical about it, he loved his boy. And so the mom's just doing all she can to comfort him. And I like that one line too, of like, she wasn't crying. Her grief seemed beyond tears. That was rough.
As a dad, I get it.
Yeah.
I'd be a jerk to another kid.
My kid beat your kid at Little League Baseball. You've been sending me those videos.
Right. My kid's in T-ball. He's wrecking shop.
That's right. So Harry tries to give them the money, but she's like backs away. No, dear, you take it. It's yours. Which is understandable. It's like, why would you take money from a kid? We find out that Dumbledore told all the students to leave Harry the heck alone. Hermione's like, he told us, don't you bother him now. What did I write down? Oh, and so like, there's this theme that begins here on this, at the beginning of the chapter that runs throughout the whole thing. And I'll say it a few times throughout this chapter coverage, but it begins with, in this particular, there's a paragraph it's like on the second page of my book for this chapter. But they are sitting there wondering like, what the heck is going to happen? What are we going to do? What is going to happen? How are we going to handle this? And they just sort of like, they're incredibly anxious about what awaits them. And that's kind of the overarching theme for this chapter of what awaits them. What do you do when it comes? What do you do with that anxiety? I thought that was a really cool thing I noticed on this read. So good job, Barry, noticing a theme in a book meant for children. Ron tells Harry that his mama tried to ask Daddy Dumbledore if Harry could come over and play at his house during the summer. And Dumbledore's like, sure, but first he has to go back to the Dursleys first. Sure, but he has to go back to the Dursleys. What?
He's got to go finish his homework.
That's right. His over the holidays homework. Hagrid's still cool. I wrote that down because they're like, we don't want to hang out with anybody except Hagrid. On what day of the week, Zach?
Thursday.
That's correct. Thursday. But also the third day, Monday, 1 day, Tuesday, 2 days, Wednesday, what day? Thursday, the third day. That's a Joey Tribbiani reference for anybody. But Hagrid's still cool. So they go out to see him. And I wrote down like, they just canceled Defense Against the Dark Arts class. What the heck? Like, teacher's indisposed, so just forget about it. Which I thought was wild. Also, I thought classes were already over. I thought they took their finals. Like, they even talked about taking the history final. So unless this finals are incredibly staggered, I'm not sure why they even had it to begin with. It's the only reliable conclusion. But they go to see Hagrid, and I wrote down, because when he shows up, my note was Harry in quotations and then LOL, what about us? And what I mean is when they first get there, that's all Hagrid says is, Harry. It's like Ron and Hermione are right there. Not saying anything to them. Maybe they had already gone to visit him, and it's like the first time Harry's down there.
Maybe they didn't go to a graveyard.
That's right. That's fair. And I wrote down, ooh, he had a cuppa with a limp. Ooh. All right. Which on the saucer, on the table, next to the fireplace, Hagrid made something doughy. All right. That was another thing I thought could be a potential question. Like, what did Hagrid make them? He always makes them rock cakes or something incredibly like hard and sturdy. This time around, it said doughy
biscuits.
Cookies. Or biscuits?
Biscuits. In my book, it says biscuits. It's bread.
I can't remember if mine said cookies or biscuits. But either way, something doughy, like something chewy. But, but biscuits I think mine does say cookies, and biscuits are just the British word for cookie. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. That's why I assumed it was biscuits. That's why I assumed I was right and you were wrong.
You know what, Zach? I can edit. We have the power of that. I can pull it the frick up right here.
Is this Quizzitch 2.0?
If you're right, I'll give you 10 Quizzitch points. Mine says doughy cookies. I don't know. Hold on.
All right. Well, now I got to go get. I see it. Now I got to
go. You got negative 10 Quizzitch points.
Oh, shoot. No, we're just going to move on. I'm not going to pull up mine.
Yep. But yeah, I was just surprised. But I was like, even in this moment, Hagrid knows how like tender the situation is. He's like, okay, let me pull out all the stops. Normally he's trying to like toughen him up, and that's got to be what it is. But anyway, I love this part where he says, are you all right? And Harry goes, yeah. And he says, no, you're not. Of course you're not. But you will be. And I love that sentiment. Like there's so many things in life like that as you're moving through. And it's a good reminder of things are trash right now. They are terrible. But you live longer and you'll be all right eventually.
It'll only get worse, so feel better in hindsight.
You'll be all right. All right. I was about to give a huge spoiler for the series. I was like, all Harry has to do is beep, but I didn't. I caught myself. But he'll be all right. And that's Hagrid is giving the answer to several times in this conversation, like to the question this chapter is asking, the theme that I was talking about of what do we do with this anxiety that we have about the impending danger and awful things to come? So the first one right here is he says, you'll be all right. But, later he says, what's coming will come and we'll face it when it does. Just like, it's going to happen. And we're going to do what we always do. We face it. And I love that.
Cross that bridge, we'll get there.
Exactly. Oh, what's that? That one Bible verse where I love it so much, where Jesus says, let tomorrow worry about itself, for each day has enough to deal with on its own. That's kind of like the sentiment I feel there. But anyway, so he says, at one point, Hagrid said, you know, Voldemort guy, I knew he was coming back. And they're all like, really? He said, yep. Told you in your first year, Harry. He doesn't actually say that part, but that he did tell Harry in the first year. I can't remember if it was a book thing or a movie thing, but I think it's both.
It was both. It was definitely both. In the Leaky Cauldron. That's in London.
That's in London. So he hypes up Harry. He's like, you did wonderful out there, just like your dad. And that's the best praise I could give. They ask him about a secret job that Dumbledore gave him. And he's like, can't tell you. I'm like, okay, Hagrid. Whatever.
Have a sip of that cup over there.
Yeah, give you a little bit, give you another cup of, one or two cups. But he makes a Scroot joke, and they're all like, what? And it reminded me, Scroot Watch, 1995. We moved into the next year. It was 1994. But Scroot Watch, 1995, the Scroots were down to just one. There's only one Scroot left. So sad. It's finally time for the leaving feast, and Harry doesn't think it's going to be as fun as normal. And he's probably right about that. They walk in. There are black drapes all over the Great Hall instead of like the normal winning house colors. And it's because it's for it's for Cedric. It's like a funeral for him. I thought the movie did this part really well. And we'll get to that when we get to our transfiguration section. But one thing I did not like was Twitchy Moody. It talked about how everybody that, like, Moody was finally back in the Great Hall, the real Moody, not the fake Moody. Yeah. In the Great Hall at the teacher's table. And it said he was more twitchy and jumpy. Anytime somebody talked to him, he would jump. And I just thought, that's not Moody. Like, I've read books 5, 6, and 7, and he's not like that. He's this boss who, like, has a level head. Yeah, he's paranoid, but he's like paranoid in like a don't mess with me. Everybody's trying to mess with me, but they're not going to mess with me. Not in a don't mess with me. You know, like, you get the difference there. I just didn't like.
I like to think that he got himself together after a little bit of time because he was imprisoned for a while. What was it, 10 months? I can't remember. It was a Quizzitch question. I forgot.
Somebody got that half right in Quizzitch.
I got it, guys. Don't worry, world. But, you know, like, he was like, they would like joke about him always like setting off alarms and jinxing people who said boo behind them on April Fool's Day or something like that. Yeah. And, you know, it's just, I'd be jumpy too if I was imprisoned for a good long while, 10 months. I'm going to keep remembering that.
Fair enough. Yeah, that'll be the one thing you walk away from this season with. 10 months. Like a baby.
Good joke.
You're going to challenge that? You're going to say 9 months? Because it's not, Zach.
No, it's 10 months. Because you don't usually know until after the end of the first month. I'm a guy. I know everything about pregnancy, guys.
Take my word for it. That's funny. Anyway, so yeah, Twitchy Mood, I guess it can make sense. I just didn't like it. Harry wonders if Voldemort has killed Kakarov yet. And it's like, dang, Harry, why'd your mind just wander there? Harry and Snape have a little staring contest. This part was funny to me because it says Harry stared at Snape at the high table. He noticed Snape was staring at him, and Harry locks eyes with him. And it says Snape stopped looking at him, but Harry stayed looking at him long after Snape had turned away. And that's such an annoying kid thing to do. Does you ever experience that out in public? Like, you lock eyes with somebody and you look away, and then every once in a while you look back and they're still looking at you. Anyway, Dumbledore says some really nice things about Cedric, and they all raise a glass to him. Dumbledore tells them how Cedric died. And I wrote down, it was so funny to me in his explanation. He says it very eloquently, but I found a lot of what Dumbledore in this chapter says, if you just boil it down, you can make fun of very easily. So he states the whole thing about, like, the ministry wouldn't want you to know this, and your parents, they would have their reasons for not wanting you to know this. But I think to attribute Cedric's death to anything other than Voldemort would be an insult to his memory. And that's a beautiful line, a beautiful sentiment. But you could also boil it down to, the government doesn't want you to know, your parents don't want you to know, but fluff them. I'm telling you anyway. And that's kind of how I read it this time around.
Yeah. You're like, spoiling favorite lines, man.
I know I'm spoiling them left and right because that is part of mine too. I only have so much to work with one chapter, Zach.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, and then I wrote down also after Dumbledore, dunks on the government and on all their parents. He's like, also shout out to Harry. He was pretty cool that night too. Really brave, like a Gryffindor should be. Dumbledore, Harry goes, whenever Dumbledore asks everybody to raise a glass, everybody raises their glass except for some of the Slytherins. And Harry goes, but Dumbledore didn't have a magical eye, so he couldn't see. And I was like, I think Dumbledore probably knew. I think he's smart enough to know that the Slytherins don't get down like that with the Gryffindors.
And you're going to notice, like, standing in front of, like, a bunch of people who's standing, who's not standing.
He's on a platform. He'll be all right. And he's really tall.
That's okay. We'll give Harry that one. You guys we'll give you both that one.
Barry Potter.
Barry?
Then Dumbledore, that was almost the name of something to do with the pod, like Barry Potter or something like that, or Barry Podder, like Podder, but I didn't do it. Then Dumbledore looks around the hall and is basically like, well, I think this tournament went well, because he essentially... He's like, the point of this was international magical cooperation, and we're all super bonded now. And I get, that just was so funny to me. That's essentially what he says of things turned out pretty well. I had a good time. Y'all had a good time. We accomplished the goal. All right. Yeah, we lost somebody, but look at what we gained. Friendship.
And Hogwarts won.
And guys, double won. All right, we put 2 students in and they both beat y'all. But he says they're all friends now. And I love the Victor Crumb moment where Harry says, Dumbledore's eyes swept over the Durmstrang table and it looked he said Crumb almost looked scared. But instead, Dumbledore goes, every single one of you are welcome back at any time. Aw, Dumbledore, with arms wide open. That's how he'd be living his life, man. But it's time for everybody to leave. They're all in the entrance hall. Fleur says goodbye to Harry, makes him feel all good. I love that moment where she, because it's such a young boy thing. Even if you don't like that girl, if she's pretty or a lot of guys admire this girl, for her to show you attention, it's like, that was nice. Because she comes up and I don't think she gives him a kiss, but she just thanks him specifically and goes away. And it's like, oh, Harry.
That part in Vila will do it.
Mm-hmm. And then Crumb, he walks up because they're like, I wonder how they're going to get back without Karkaroff to steer the ship. I wonder how many, I think I've said it wrong a lot on this episode already, but he got Karkaroff. My dog just threw up. Did you see that?
No, I heard it. He's out of the frame.
Don't worry, he licked it up. My dog just threw up on the floor. You all right, bud?
That's not your baby.
Go to your place.
Throw up over there.
Good boy. That was crazy.
Are you keeping that in?
I don't know. I've included him before. Wow. I'm glad he threw up on the hardwood, so he knows better. He actually does know that I don't know, these dogs are geniuses. There was one time, I'll keep this in, why not? But there was one time he threw up, and he knows anytime he throws up, he's like, I need to get outside, and he runs to the door. He's a very smart boy. And he makes it to the door, but I'm not there in time. I'm running. I'm like, I'm going to get there, Coco. and before I get to the door, it's like there wasn't enough time. He does a spin move, and because we have a carpet. I don't know if you can see it. We have a carpet at our door, at the exit. You can kind of see it right there. And he does a whole full 360, and he throws up in a half moon crescent on the hardwood outside of the carpet, and then faces back at the door like, all right, I'm ready to go outside now. It was like, what just happened? So he's a good boy.
My cat runs into the wall.
Genius.
No.
Back to the podcast. So Harry's like, Karkaroff, what are they going to do without him to steer the ship? And Crumb goes, he didn't steer the ship. We did. Karkaroff did nothing. He stayed in his freaking cabin the whole time. Lazy piece of filth.
That is very on brand for.
It does seem like something Karkaroff would do.
Can't pronounce it.
I couldn't either, apparently. But
Kakarot.
anyway, he asks Hermione for a word, and they walk off together. Ooh, but they're not gone too long. I like Ron staring over everybody's shoulders like, hey, you can't be gone too long. Make sure you come on back now. The carriage's going to leave soon.
You better come back.
Yeah. And then Ron asks for Crumb's autograph. It's a wonderful moment, like full circle, because he started out the year admiring Crumb, and he only disliked him because of Hermione, but he was finally, it's some character growth. He was able to put his jealousy aside. Yeah, he's put his jealousy aside and asked Crumb for what he really wanted. And that's nice.
And that's a name on a paper.
That's right.
Parchment.
So
I'm sorry, parchment.
That's right. Good catch. Good catch. We're on the train now. They're chugging along. Our trio and their animals. They got their own compartment, which is nice. All right. Nobody to mess them up. Hermione quietly drops the prophet very discreetly. And Harry's like, ugh, wonder what kind of crap they've been saying. Hermione's like, a fat lot of nothing. All right. They didn't even mention Cedric dying. They just said that you kind of won. And then he goes, well, what about Rita? They can't keep her quiet. And Hermione's like, is that so? They might not be able to, but I can. And we get the whole Rita reveal. This whole book, we figure out like that Rita is actually an unregistered animagus. You know, she can turn into a beetle. I love Zach in the audiobook, the full cast one. The voice actress for Hermione here just nailed this part. Like her quiet little excitement and triumph in her voice of, no, she can't write at all. Like it was definitely a lot better than that. But you know what I'm trying to say.
I'm pretty sure that was it.
But she brings out the jar. It's really cute. Like this chapter could have been called like Hermione's Triumph, something like that. Because she finally got one over. Yeah, I got you now. I got a jar of dirt. Jar of Rita. And
I've got a prisoner of war.
Essentially.
Also, this is the first instance of government censorship and like the ministry really like putting their thumb down on what the prophet's putting out. Yeah, and that'll be a huge theme for next book, listeners. We'll give you a little taste for next book. Not spoiler, just a little taste. It's the teaser trailer dropping right here. We've never read that book, Barry. We would never know. I know. Thank you for following along. Anyway, we find out Rita was the beetle in Hermione's hair. She was the beetle in the classroom on the windowsill. She was the beetle on the stone in the bushes. I'm surprised that like she trusted Malfoy, like to keep her secret as an unregistered animagus. Yeah. Of all people, it's like the most treacherous group. You're going to trust them to keep that secret? That's crazy. But Hermione says she's put on 1 year timeout. Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle, they walk in and they get wrecked. I love this. I love this so much. So they come in and Malfoy brings up, hey, I told you shouldn't have hang out with riffraff like this. I told you day one. All right. I could have been your friend. I could have been your homie. But instead, you're going to be the first to die. Just kidding. The first one was said, and then bam, he gets blasted by Harry, Ron, Hermione, Fred, and Jorge. They got him. All right. All of them. Jorge. And then I was like, threw me for a minute. I was like, that compartment must be huge in order to fit all 8 of them. Like, because it said Fred and George just walk in, and I love that, Fred steps on top of Goyle, I believe, and George walks on top of Malfoy. That was another potential Quizzitch question. Thought you would ask me that. But anyway, they throw them out of there because they're like, they don't really do anything for the decor. Throw them out of there, and I like that. Close it, and they start playing what game, Zach? Exploding Snap. That is correct. Ding, 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 ding. We get the Ludo Bagman reveal because they are halfway through the 5th game, which was another question I thought you were going to ask me. They're halfway through the 5th game whenever Harry goes, hey, so you're going to tell us what was going on that one day in the Owlry and what all your shenanigans have been? With the blackmail and stuff. Fred and George are both like, bruh, that's so on him. Don't even worry about it. But they press him on a little bit. Finally, we get the Ludo Bagman reveal, and it's discovered that
Ludo Bagman was the one that they were talking about blackmailing. And Harry's like, no way, he was evil. And they're like, no, that guy's too dumb to be evil. All right. He couldn't have orchestrated all that. No, he's just addicted to gambling. Like he just has a gambling problem.
He
And
just
that's
has
all.
a problem.
Yeah. And so we find out the whole thing of like the reason they found him in the woods during the Quidditch World Cup was because the goblins had like pestered him for money. And he had also placed a giant bet on Harry to win the whole Triwizard tournament. That's why he kept trying to help Harry. And then he placed a bet that Harry would win. But I love that the goblins found a loophole. They're like, technically, he tied with Cedric. So Ludo Bagman made a run for it. So they finished their conversation with Fred and George. And I love the whole time Harry's thinking, man, I wish this could go on all summer. I wish this was my summer break. And again, stepping on favorite lines all over the place. But you get that moment where he's like, Harry painfully discovered, though, that time does not slow down when you want it to. And they make it to King's Cross, and Harry tells Fred and George, yo, hold up. All right, let the kiddies run along. Daddy's got to talk to you, too. And he gives them his winnings. He gives them his Triwizard winnings. And whose hand does he shove them into?
George's.
That's correct. Jorge. Ding, ding, ding.
Jorge.
I wrote down, LOL, Harry saying, I don't want it. I don't need it. He's like, boys, I'm freaking rich. Like, I don't need this.
Did you
just
forget
1,000 that you see in my vault?
Father won't hear about this.
Oh. But he's like, I got 1,000 galleons. That's nothing to me, bro. You can have this. And I love this line where Harry says, like, we're going to need more laughs. He's like, I don't need money. I need more laughs. And it makes me think of that Bilbo Baggins line in The Hobbit, when he says, actually it's Thorin who says this to Bilbo, of if the world valued home above gold, then this world would be a merrier place. Like it's something like home and laughter and cheer. And that's kind of like the vibe I'm getting here where Harry's like, I don't need money. I need to laugh. So I love that sentiment. That's kind of, you know, as somebody who doesn't make a lot of money, I like that line.
It's a good line.
Yeah. But
And
they
plus
protest.
it's an investment.
What?
It's investment advice also.
Yeah, it is. And
Put
it's
your money into
also
jokes.
and from like, I don't know, I've seen enough rich people talk about how hollow they feel to understand that it's not the money that brings the happiness. You know, it's appreciating what you do have that brings the happiness.
Yeah, like riding a jet ski.
Like riding a jet ski. You and that freaking joke. But they protest, and Harry pulls out his wand, and he says, boys, I'll light you the frick up if you don't take this money right now. It's the opposite of SpongeBob being like, put the money in the bag. Instead, he's going,
Take the
money.
bag.
Take the bag, yeah. And he says, just buy Ron some dress robes and say they're from you. He walks out of there. Molly gives him a little hug, and Hermione, it says, gave him something she never did before, a little kiss. Give a little smooch on the cheek. Oh.
Also, let's hold up. I can't remember if it was Fred or George, just feeling the sack. He's like juggling the coins. He's like, yo, there's got to be 1,000 galleons in here. Like, I didn't know the Weasleys would know what 1,000 galleons would feel like. That's pretty impressive.
I think of all of them, first of all, mean. Second, I think of all of them, Fred and George would, of like them being the ones who make sales and like earn profit and stuff. They're like, oh, I can feel the weight of that. You know, it kind of makes sense that of all of them, they'd be able to know.
But not at this point, right?
I mean, they had all that money that they bet to begin, all that savings. So maybe they have a sense of it, you know, perhaps. Write into the retailpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think, listeners.
And let us know if I have bad takes.
We have probably 20 minutes worth of usable content in this video so far. And then the chapter ends this way. As Hagrid had said, what would come, and he would have to meet us. And he would have to meet it when it did. And that finishes the sentiment and the theme of like facing challenges when they come. But that's the end of the chapter. Yay!
Yay!
Moving on now, listeners, to our favorite lines. These are moments of the chapter we loved the most and just thought good writing, stuff that made us laugh, feel, all that stuff. So if there's anything that survived me saying it during the recap. Let's get to it and just, dig in a little deeper on the things we like the most. My first one, I said this, but Mr. Diggory sobbed through most of the interview. Mrs. Diggory's grief seemed to be beyond tears. That one stood out to me a lot. One, because it's just powerful, incredibly sentimental. And you feel for the Diggorys, you hate it for them. And also just a great theme of this series being a mother's love and how strong and powerful a mother's love is. And at this point, and in this moment, it's got her to the point of a grief inexpressible, is what it seems like. But what's your first favorite line?
So my first favorite line, and you talked about it in the recap, but I'm gonna say the whole thing. The Ministry of Magic, Dumbledore continued, does not wish me to tell you this. It is possible that some of your parents will be horrified that I will do so, because they will not believe that Lord Voldemort has returned, or because they think I should not tell you so, young as you are. It is my belief, however, that the truth is generally preferable to lies. I'm gonna stop there. So yeah, you said you read it as like it's messed up. Like the government.
Only this time. Like I get the sentiment, but this time just to make a joke. That's kind of how it came off.
But I did there's something nice about that because parents will see you as little children, like their kids as little kids, but these are like teenagers into young adults. Like the older students are becoming of age. They're turning 17, and they should not be censored. The truth is better than lies. Like you should tell people the truth of what happened. But on the flip side of it, I do kind of get as a dad, but my kids are 4 and 1. So let's censor what we tell these kids,
You're not really sitting there telling them about the war or anything like that.
No, and we're skipping past that first couple of minutes of Finding Nemo. You know what I mean? We're getting right to waking up in the anemone. So so I see it both ways, but my kids are not teenagers, so I'll let them watch the beginning at that point, maybe.
When you're 13, you can watch the first 5 minutes of Finding Nemo.
And no sooner.
Oh, I'm sparing you. It's like Phoebe with her mom.
I thought about that too.
That's funny. I really liked you stopped reading, but when he finishes that paragraph, that any attempt to pretend that Cedric died as the result of an accident or some sort of blunder of his own is an insult to his memory. One of my favorite moments, so Goblet of Fire is my favorite movie. Of all the Harry Potter movies, I love it so much. It was the movie that my mom and I would watch anytime I got sick. I played it over and over again. I love that movie. And a lot of people take issue with Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. I liked Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. I enjoyed it. And I just enjoyed the way he says it in the movie. Not to do so would be an insult to his memory. Like the way I didn't do it right, obviously, just there. But the way he says memory, there's such there's power and pain in his voice at the same time. Like confidence and hurt, both there. I really liked it.
And him asking about if Harry put his name in the Goblet of Fire was right perfect.
That's right. He famously didn't read the book, and he just went off what the directors told him to do because they wanted to trust their vision. That's my defense for him. He was trusting the director's vision. But the full line I'll give is, Harry had the impression that Hermione had been dying to tell them this for days, but that she had restrained herself in light of everything else that had happened. So I love that line because recently, when my wife gave birth to our lovely daughter, my brother-in-law and his wife were at the hospital, and unbeknownst to us, they were pregnant too. And they didn't tell us until a few weeks later. And they said the reason we didn't was because we wanted that to be your moment, and I thought, wow, how incredibly selfless. Like that was that was really sweet of them to do. They weren't stealing thunder like in Friends.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought of when I read that line of Hermione's, like of Harry thinking she probably like she's been so excited to say this, but she's been keeping it to herself because she's like, now's not the time. So I don't know. That's kind of what stirred in me is when I read that, and that's why I like that line a lot.
That's amazing. I probably could not have done that myself. I don't think I'm selfless enough to do that.
I can't read her. But that was what she was doing when she smacked the windowsill, ruining Harry's like best hug of his life, the only motherly hug he's ever received. What's your next favorite line?
So it actually follows that. You're kidding, said Ron. You haven't. She's not. Oh, yes, she is, says Hermione happily, brandishing the jar. Like, I just imagine, like, Ron and Harry horrified, absolutely horrified to discover that Hermione has kidnapped and imprisoned a person in a jar. Brandishing the jar. So I imagine the shake her face. Rule following Hermione, huh?
Yeah. Just a crazed look all in her eyes. Yeah, I like that. Let's see. Did I have any more? I think that was all my favorite lines for this chapter. Did you have any more?
No, that was it.
Fantastic.
The jar shaking is where it's at.
Well, now, listeners, moving on to our Transfiguration section. And these are differences that the movies made from the book. And so in this chapter, mostly omissions, as is the case typically with these final chapters. But we had like no meeting with the Diggories or Hagrid. You know, when in the movie, it goes straight from Barty Crouch Jr. reveal to Cedric's like funeral / the goodbye moment in the Great Hall. So there is no Harry doesn't meet with the Diggories, the parents, or they don't go down to Hagrid's hut. They also in the movie they say their goodbyes in the courtyard rather than in the entrance hall, which makes sense to me because the courtyard was a bigger set and more open. They could like probably film from up high and all that stuff. But I like that change. That was good. That was good to me. Also, Crumb in the movie doesn't ask Hermione for a word. All he does is walk up and be like, yo, here's my Addie. Write to me, girl. That's what he does there.
That's fair.
Also, Fleur in the movie, I think she gives Ron a kiss on the cheek as a goodbye. But she doesn't really talk to Ron at all. I think she just gives him a smile whenever Ron's like, you have great English. It's wonderful. And she's like, oh, thanks. So that's about it for them. Also, Ron does not ask Victor Crumb for his autograph in the movie. You know, he's kind of off and away. He's not anywhere near there. Checks out for his character.
Oh yeah.
And then there's no ride back on the train. The movie ends, instead of having the whole train ride, it ends with the trio standing together overlooking the Black Lake as the carriage and the boat fade off, you know, one into the sky, one into the lake. And that's our Transfiguration section. So those are all the Transfigurations I could think of for this particular chapter. Moving on now, listeners, to our golden snitches. So these are behind the scenes, little lore grabs, little tidbits and bits, things that I found that I thought, hey, maybe you haven't heard of this. Wow, it got really bright on my screen.
Yeah, it did.
So anyway, let's do the first one. At first, I looked up the Furnunculus curse, which is the pimple jinx. And then I realized, oh, this has already been a golden snitch. Like this, I've already covered. This was earlier in the book. This happened. It's still funny to me, though, that the hand movement is drawing a pimple. Like you go down, out, and down again. So like a pimple on the skin. And that's just silly. But the other golden snitch I had, again, my golden snitches for this chapter are, as the kids would say, mid, you know, kind of mid.
I don't know what the kids say.
You have two of them, Zach. But they're kind of mid. All right, it's not that great. So the first one I have is the Leaving Feast, because it's called that specifically, and I'm sure it's been called that before, but I was kind of pressed for golden snitches in this chapter, so I was like, let's do this. The Leaving Feast, also known as the End of Year Feast or the End of Term Feast, was a traditional part of the school year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, held in the Great Hall. The students, staff, and ghosts were invited to attend. And yeah, typically the house cup, house points or the house cup was awarded. And that's pretty much all that it says. There's like some behind the scenes, but the behind the scenes is about the second movie. So nobody really cares. Yeah, I know. Good stuff, right? Moving on to the other golden snitch that I had was, I actually forgot to look up one, so I can do that in just a second. But the other one was the House Cup. Because again, I'm pressed for golden snitches. But the House Cup was a yearly award given at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. At the end of the year, the house with the most house points was given this award. We know all this stuff, listeners, but here's what I thought was interesting. As you move down, it gives you a list of like the winners. Hold on a second. I'm looking at something I thought could be interesting, but it's okay. This actually could be interesting. It talks about the giant hourglasses, where the house points are counted. Do you know what the hourglasses use as grains of sand, like what it uses in place of grains of sand?
So for the Slytherins, it's emeralds, and for the Gryffindors, it's rubies.
That's correct.
Sapphires for Ravenclaw, and
3 for 3.
Topaz for
you would think, but apparently for the Hufflepuffs, it's diamonds. They use diamonds
because we're some diamonds in the rough, right, guys?
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't. I thought it would be like amethyst. Isn't amethyst yellow?
I thought amethyst was like blue.
It's
probably multiple colors.
Could be. Don't quote me on it. But yeah, we get diamonds. So shout out us. And also, Ilvermorny had their own house cup that they did. But then finally, the other thing I wanted to mention about this was that on the Harry Potter wiki, it has a list of all of the schools starting in 1975 that had won the House Cup. And so this is what was interesting to me. I think this has to be a Hogwarts mystery thing, but in the 1974 to 75 year, it lists Hufflepuff as having won, and then it jumps immediately to 84 to 85, and it says either Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, or Ravenclaw. And the reason, and then it's Slytherin a bunch in a row. But the reason it says that is because if you remember in Harry's first year, they say Slytherin had won the House Cup 7 years in a row, which meant that 8th year somebody else had to have won it.
They did math.
And then presumably Gryffindor won every single year Harry was there, except for this year there wasn't a House Cup, it seems, or at least there's potential for it. And maybe not in another year, but we won't talk about that, listeners. I wonder where they get the thing about Hufflepuff. Let me go to their sources. It is a Hogwarts mystery, the year 3 side quest. So yay, good us. I don't see Ravenclaw as having one for sure any year on this list. Take that, you guys.
Bunch of brainiacs.
That's right. Now moving on to our final Quizzitch one, and let me write it down.
Final Quizzitch?
Not Quizzitch. Golden Snitch.
I was like, we're back to Quizzitch?
Yep. I hope you studied. But the final one, the Jelly Legs Curse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got to show you. I'm going to share my screen so you can see how silly this looks. Look at this. Look at the little legs.
Looks like they got to use the bathroom or something.
Now break your legs. Now break your leg. Break them. That's what it looks like to me. Anyway, the Jelly Legs Curse, also known as the Jelly Legs Jink or Locomotor Wibbly, was a dark charm that caused the victim's legs to collapse as if they were turned to jelly. This spell was covered in curses and counter curses by Professor Vindictus Viridian. This spell would have unpleasant side effects, and if used in conjunction with the Pimple Jinx, namely, cause little tentacles to sprout all over the victim's face. So you can see the little hand movement for it is like, I don't know, how would you even describe that?
Squidward dancing.
Squidward dancing, or Squidward's head, kind of.
Yeah.
It had
like Squidward's head.
Yeah, it emitted an orange light. In the Game Boy colored video game adaptation of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the spell is used to paralyze the opponent for a near indefinite amount of turns. So like in a duel.
That game.
Ooh, you should play it. When asked whether anything in the series reflects any of her childhood fantasies, author J.K. Rowling said, "Who wouldn't want to be able to use the Jelly Legs curse?" This seemingly confirms that it is a curse rather than a jinx. There have been various mistranslations of the spell's names, such as Gel-O legs, jam legs, broken legs, and twisted limping legs, which isn't that creative in the Chinese, Japanese, and Vietnamese versions of the book. And yeah, that's all we got for Golden Snitch. Yay!
Yay!
I'll stop sharing the
The
screen.
hand movements really seem like it would take a long time to do in like a fight.
Mm-hmm. I concur. Hold on. Let me write the etch a sketch this out. You're watching Disney Channel. But now, moving on to our restricted section. And so this is the part of the episode where like we talk about spoilers for the whole rest of the series. So if you don't want to be spoiled about what is to come, listeners, then get on out of here. All right. We're in the graveyard. We're in the restricted section. But before you go, thank you for listening. All right. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, if you did, leave us a review, share it with another Potter friend of yours that you think might like it. You know, you can subscribe on the Patreon where you can listen to me talk about the Hogwarts mystery and Hogwarts legacy plot lines, as well as fan fiction coverages and other random Potter discussions. And that is Patreon/Retold Podcast. But yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay. Now for those who are spoiled, the spoiled, rotten listeners. All right. This is their time. So I have a list, Zach. I will say my list and we can talk about it. And you have anything else after that, we can get to your silly stuff. So
you go at the end, Zach.
Well, I do that for my guests because I'm like, I have like, this is my show. I don't want to put them on the spot. I have a list of things to talk about. Well, that's not how I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's always funny to me. It's funny to me, like, growing up, listeners, Zach and another friend of mine pointed out to me, they were like, you know, Barry, you always pick everything we do. Like you get to choose, you pick the video games, you pick the movies, the TV shows, the food we eat. You always get to pick. That doesn't seem fair. We should get to pick every once in a while. And it was like glass shattering for me because in my head, I thought, like, genuinely, I viewed it as I'm the host. It would be like rude to put them on the spot and ask them what to do. So instead, I will pick what I think they want. And that's like what teenage Barry thought was the right thing to do. And that's what I always did. Except for when you finally got better than me at a video game. And then I would go, let's play a different game. Yeah, that's when I would pick in my own self-interest. But similar with the restricted section, I do this because I'm like, oh, it gives like if in case they don't know what to say or how it goes, especially if they're a first time guest, which you're not. So it doesn't make that much sense. But you get what I'm saying. Anyway, restricted section. So my first one is Hagrid says at one point, as long as we've got Dumbledore, I'm not too worried. And I was like, oh, that's not going to go too well in 2 years.
He forgot to knock on wood.
Yeah, that's could have saved a life. Knock on wood, save a life.
Yeah. He says it quite a few times. Like every time that Dumbledore is like brought up, he says, great man, Dumbledore. But this time he said, you know what? I don't know what we'd do without him. Hope he never leaves us.
I'd be R.I.P.
Hope we don't foreshadow that at all.
Yeah. And then the other one I had was that, so Dumbledore says that telling the truth is preferable to lies. I'm sure a lot of people highlight that and talk about that one. So I had two thoughts on that. One is the obvious one, that Dumbledore keeps secrets back from Harry a lot of the times, which I'm not going to lie. I think I've said this before, but maybe never this explicitly. I don't have a problem, at least that big of a problem with that. Because in my head, I think he's literally doing it to save the wizarding world as we know it. You know, like if he didn't orchestrate everything, again, it sounds slimy when you say he manipulated a teenager.
Very
but first of all,
as a professor.
But first of all, it's a story. All right. It's a fantasy book. Okay. It's not real world stuff. Second, he's literally saving the world. Like, so I have some sympathy for it. Now I understand too. I think the best argument against that is, well, Harry probably has good enough character to take it in stride and still, like, if Dumbledore were to tell him everything, to still follow along. You know, Harry's the kind of guy that would still have sacrificed him. I mean, that's what he did do when he found out. So that's
I
the
don't think
rhetoric.
Dumbledore could risk that because, I mean, you don't know for sure what someone who's been neglected all their life is going to kind of do with that information, you know?
That's fair. And maybe perhaps like oftentimes like the fear of death is its own spur, is its own motivation. It's like when I'm bench pressing and I don't have a spotter, it's like I have to get this up or I could die. Or I'll look really silly.
You got to look real silly.
I'm gonna look really silly. And so in the same way, Harry might not have fervently sought the Horcruxes if he thought, what's the point? I'm just going to die anyway. I don't think he would have done that, but I can understand how Dumbledore might have thought that. But the other note I had on the Ministry, at least something that Fudge calls out, is he thinks that one of his biggest problems with this is he's like, listen, Harry is crazy and Dumbledore is only doing this because Harry said so. Actually, I think that's the argument Seamus makes in book 5, that Dumbledore's only saying this because Harry said so. Where's the proof? And it didn't hit me until this book. That actually is exactly what's going on. Like, Dumbledore is doing this solely on Harry's word. It's not that he actually knows that Voldemort's back. He hasn't seen Voldemort come into contact with him. I mean, yeah, later on he can pick up signs, I'm sure. But until he sees him in the Ministry next year, he never actually sees Voldemort again. So it is all on Harry's word, which I had never really thought about before.
But the evidence of Barty Crouch Jr. just being impersonating Mad Eye Moody is strong enough evidence to say, like, 2 and 2 makes 4, you know?
You know what? Forget everything I just said, because that's a really good point. And I forgot that's even what Dumbledore says, is he's like, when he's talking to Fudge about it in the previous chapter, he says, I heard what Barty said and what Harry said, and both of them make sense of everything that's happened in the last year. So shout out to your astute literary observation, Zach.
That's right.
And my silliness. My final restricted section is I had the carriages and the Thestrals. So this is like a fun little plot hole people try to point out. And I guess it is a plot hole, but you can kind of work your way around it. Technically, you kind of think, shouldn't Harry have been able to see the Thestrals at this point?
Yeah.
But if you're going to make that argument, then let me back up. JK's response to that has always been, well, Harry hadn't really processed the death yet. He didn't really understand it yet. And it's not until like after the school year is over and after the summer is over that he's had time to think about it, and he finally understands that he's able to see the Thestrals. And something that like works well with that is Harry was there when his mom died. I guess you could say he technically saw his mom die when he was a 1-year-old baby, but he didn't process that. That's why he didn't see the Thestrals then. And I will say this too. Technically, Harry didn't see Cedric die, because what the exact text says is he closed his eyes shut and he saw the flash of green, like under his eyelids or through his eyelids. Now, so then the question is it seeing a dead person, like seeing death in that way, or seeing the death occur? Like, I don't know. But I guess all this goes to support the idea of you're around death and you comprehend what it means. That's my thoughts on that.
Is it specifically other humans?
I think so. It's not like pets.
Did they say that though?
No.
They didn't.
Well, I don't remember actually. I'm sure it is.
I haven't seen any Thestrals, so I mean,
You see somebody die, Zach?
no.
Jeez. But I've seen some pets die. Yeah.
I've seen some pets die. That's what I'm talking about.
I do like one of my favorite moments in book 5 is when Hermione says to Harry, she's like, oh, that's so cool you can see them. I wish I could see them. And especially the way Jim Dale narrates it, it's a very subdued response from Harry where he just says, do you know? Because it's like, think of what you're actually asking. You're wishing you've seen somebody die. That's what you're saying. And Hermione's like, oh, frick, I didn't mean that, Harry. Dadgum. I just want to see the animal. But that's all the restricted section stuff I have. Did you have any more, Zach?
No, I think you covered a good bit of it. A lot of it is just foreshadowing into the next book with censorship. And my mind's drawn a blank. But yeah, I think that's a very good restriction section.
Yay!
In the graveyard, you know what I'm saying?
That's
The
right. We
past
made it out
graveyard
alive.
shift, you know.
That's right. Oh, maybe what are we gonna call it for book 5? There's a few names.
Room of Requirement.
We could do that, or the Hall of Prophecy, or we could call it the
Grimald Place.
the Department of Mysteries. Ooh,
Department of
maybe
Mysteries that's it.
could be. I won't say which one for sure because I like to leave that as a little what am I going to do when book 5 rolls around for my listeners? Ooh.
But that'll be it, guys.
Maybe. Okay. Zach, I know this is the restricted section, but don't give that spoiler away.
Oh no.
Now we were going to do a little for fun quiz thing at the end of this, but we've already talked for an hour and a half, and we probably have at least 25 minutes of usable content. So I think we're good to stop the episode there, Zach.
It's gonna be a 25-minute
episode. They're gonna love it. We were originally gonna do something because we thought one chapter, that's not enough. Turns out it was enough.
You're just gonna leave it in it's just gonna be a loop of me juggling galleons.
It'll just be a gif of you doing your little thing you did. Anyway, that's all we got for this week. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. Zach, I loved having you on. It's always a pleasure. Hope you come back for the next book. Let me know what chapters you want, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad everyone got to see me. Oh, we talked over each other.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold podcast is produced by me. That's right. I made this.